lesson is on living things. So, what is a living thing? That's VIC number 1. What is living? There are 5 things that you need to be considered living. So we have our human here, and the first thing that you must have is you must use energy. So I drew a stomach here with a line that says you must have energy. So you have to be able to move, you have to be able to blink, you have to be able to produce. And so this is something you must have if you're going to be a living thing. The second thing is you must have 1 or more cells. So I've drawn a little close up to our hand, and there's all of these skin cells that we have, and we have cheek cells and hair cells. If to be considered living, you must have cells in your organism. The third thing is you must respond to stimulus. So if I throw something at you, you know that you have to duck. Or if sunlight starts to shine on you, you either grow a little bit taller, like with plants, or your skin gets burned if you're a human. So you must respond to stimulus. The fourth thing is you must grow and reproduce. So living things, they have to keep on generating more and more living things, and if you don't, you're not considered to be living. The last thing is you must stay in homeostasis. Homeostasis is one of our vocabulary words. Homeostasis is maintaining balance in your body. And I don't necessarily mean like balance like standing on one foot. I mean balance like if you feel like you're cold, your skin begins to shiver and the hairs on your arm pop up to try to hold on to that heat. That's your body in homeostasis. It's trying to hold in the heat in your body so that you can stay at about 96.8 degrees. Same thing with if you get too hot. When you get too hot, your body is trying to cool you down so you start to sweat. That is your body in homeostasis. So those are the 5 things that you need to be considered something that is living. BIC concept number 2 are the chemicals that are looking at the chemicals that you have to be in an organism. So the first one are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are our energy builders. So this apple is an example of carbohydrates. If we eat an apple, it goes into our stomach and it's broken down by enzymes, and then it's put into our bloodstream and it gives us energy. So the carbohydrates are something that's within our system that's giving us energy. The second chemical in our body are proteins. Oftentimes, the easiest thing to remember with proteins is that proteins are muscles, or even like the lining of your stomach is considered a protein, all right? So proteins make our muscles and other tissues within our body. The third thing that all bodies have are lipids. And lipids typically are fats. Lipids or fats slowly release energy, and it's something that we need in our bodies. The last one is nucleic acid, and this has our DNA and RNA. This is the part of the cell that tells us if we're going to be a saliva cell or a skin cell or a tear cell. The DNA and the RNA is like the roadmap for what our cells are supposed to do. So I've done a double helix. I did a blue wavy line, and then I put a black wavy line on top, and then I did 2 different colors connecting them, showing that those were the road maps of the DNA. So these are the building blocks of life. We have to have these. So these are all the chemicals that we have within our bodies. VIC number 3 is about classification. So back in the 1700s, there was a guy named Carl Linnaeus, and he was fascinated by all the different living organisms that we had in our world. And he went about trying to sort and organize all the different types of creatures that were living on Earth. And he created an identification system called the Linnaeus classification system. Now this is an enormous system, but the things that you need to know are the different categories within this system. And I'm using humans for an example so you can see what all the categories talk about. So the first and top category is kingdom. For us humans, our kingdom is considered animals. We are animals. The next one down is phylum. Humans are in the chordates phylum. Chordates, all chordates have backbones, and so that's why we are classified as a chordate. Class is the next category in this identification system, and our class is mammals. Mammals either have hair or fur, and they produce milk for their young. Since we've got hair, we are considered mammals. Order is the next category in this system, and we are considered primates. Primates have fingers, and so that's why we are classified as primates. The next smallest version is the family. The family, we are considered hominids, which means that our eyes can see in 3D and we can tell how deep or how close things are. The next layer down is genus. So we are the Homo genus, which means that we stand upright. And I bet you know what's coming next. The species is sapien, which means that we have a high forehead and a larger brain. So all of these help classify who we are as human beings. Now this is a very complicated system. There's all these different layers of how to organize and sort out different organisms. And so for our purposes, we mainly pay attention to two specific layers of this classification system. Those two layers are the genus and the species. And this is called our binomial nomenclature, which means that we only look at the last two categories in this classification, and we use that to name all organisms in this world. So, binomial nomenclature are a two-part name that is unique for every organism. So for humans, our binomial nomenclature is Homo sapiens. Also note that when you write this two-part name, the first part, Homo, always has a capital H, and the second part, sapien, always is lowercase. That's because they're always put together, and the first word is always capitalized to say that this is the name of this organism.